Well, hey everybody, I'm Mike. I'm just a 46-year-old guy who lives in North Carolina and really enjoys going on adventures. One of my favorite hobbies is to film the things that my family and I do and then make a vacation video as a kind of souvenir so that we can remember what we did. I don't usually make vlogs on YouTube, but that said, after our last trip, I needed to make an exception. In September 2023, my wife and our really good friends took a trip to Iceland, and I feel like I need to tell everyone about an incredible adventure that we had on the trip that I'd like to recommend to everybody. Among our hiking to waterfalls and seeing absolutely incredible scenery, my wife and I broke off from our party of four and joined a tour through Arctic adventures to ice climb on the Solheimjökull Glacier in southern Iceland near Vik. It's been a couple months since we've been back home, and I can't stop thinking about how much fun it was, and I wanted to quickly explain what we did and 100% recommend the tour. The whole thing started off at the Arctic Adventures bus where we were fitted for boots and crampons. Special ice climbing boots are required since they have very rigid toes and don't bend as easily as regular boots or shoes. Just a heads up, they did cost a couple extra krona to rent, which wasn't included in the cost of the tour. However, they were necessary and well worth it, so just a heads up so that no one's caught off guard. After everyone was fitted, our guides, Matt and Monica, walked us from the parking lot along a path to the glacier, which, no joke, could quite possibly have been the windiest place on the planet. It was like walking into a hurricane. Conversations were a little tough due to the crazy wind, but we stopped for a moment to discuss the glacier and then moved around a corner where it was significantly less windy. At that point, we were shown how to put on our crampons so that we could walk out onto the glacier without completely destroying ourselves on the ice. And if I'm being honest, it's really difficult to not feel like a complete and utter badass while walking around with an ice axe and crampons. Before we made it to the official climbing spot, the group stopped and Matt gave us some beginner instructions on how to climb on a really short wall. Considering this was our first attempt at this, it wasn't a bad idea to get a feel for it before officially tying into a rope and flailing around on a bigger wall. Once we had a general idea of what we were doing, we finished the hike to where we were going to be doing the bigger climbs and made our way down into a crevasse that had steps that had been chiseled into the ice beforehand. And just a quick side note, Matt and Monica were pretty hardcore. They'd be walking along the ice with a pickaxe strapped to their backs, and then every once in a while they'd just pull it off and start hacking the ice to make a step or mark the trail. I kind of feel like when I grow up, I'd like to be able to have a job that involves impressing tourists with a pickaxe. I'm just saying. But in the meantime, I'll just continue to sit behind a computer and contemplate my life choices. So anyway, this is where we get to the good stuff. The walls weren't terribly tall, probably 20-ish feet, and they kept the ropes nice and tight while we were climbing. And admittedly, although 20 feet is definitely higher than having your feet planted firmly on the ground, the fear of falling was hovering somewhere around zero. Climbing was just a matter of swinging the ice picks into the ice so that they were secure, kicking my feet into the wall at a 90-degree angle, make sure I had good purchase on my feet, stand up, and repeat. Although a little practice definitely helped, in all honesty, it wasn't nearly as difficult as I was expecting. Most of your weight is securely resting on your feet, and holding onto the ice picks holds you in place, but it doesn't require crazy amounts of arm or finger strength. I'm sure it's far more difficult to do this out in the wild, climbing waterfalls and whatnot, but here I'd say if you're able to climb a ladder, you'd be able to do this easy peasy. And then when you make it to the top, it's just a matter of trusting the rope as the belayer gently lowers you back down to the ground, victorious.
High five, man.
Yeah!
All in all, this was one of my favorite things that I've done to date, and I can't wait to try it again. It was so different than anything that I've done before, in a place that felt like a completely different planet. I give the whole experience with Arctic Adventures 5 stars. The guides were incredibly friendly and very helpful. They took the time to help us over potentially difficult spots on the ice and explained everything to a rookie so this was as enjoyable an outing as possible. I'd recommend this tour to anyone willing to give it a shot. Don't let a fear of heights or a lack of climbing experience sway you from trying. How cool would it be to be able to say, I went ice climbing on a glacier in Iceland?